That's patreon.com/great cricketer. If you care to have more of this in your life, if not, don't worry about it.
No dramas.
Hey, mate, the third test. I thought Cummins bowled really well.
The cum dog.
Yeah. Cider. Okay, mate. Now,
Hey, could I look? We're gonna roll into some of the social things going on, how they're all connected and stuff like that. Stunningly good Test cricket. I don't mean just to get it out of the way. This is the best series I've seen since in Australia since I can remember cricket. It is heavyweight. It's 1v2. It ebbs and flows. It is completely different to the cricket we're normally used to seeing here. And I'm sure that part of their fracturing that's going on is connected to the pressure that's being generated from this series. I'm not saying blame good cricket for racism or allegations of it.
Cricket's too good.
Oh, yeah. Boorishness in our country.
Yeah.
But the cricket is sensational. Like, at the start of day 3, I was just reflecting on the fact that it was we're halfway through the SCG test.
Yeah.
Halfway through the series. It's 1-1. The game was pretty even at that point. Rahane and Pujara were facing up to Cummins and Hazelwood. Just thinking it has been sensational how teams have been coming back and forth. You made the point just off air before that matches tend to be swinging on minimal things like drop catches or missed runouts and stuff so close to those teams, which I thought was an excellent point. What India managed to do on day 5 was historic. It was tough. We'll talk about what toughness is as well later in the show, but got to hand it to both teams from a pure cricketing perspective. It's been enthralling.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, we'll start from the top here because obviously it moves so quickly, isn't it? Because the conversation today, this is Tuesday. We're recording this, the day that it will come out. So the conversation today is that like the Payne's sledging people and he's letting the country down, that sort of thing. But the biggest story probably, and we will be ranking the stories, is the alleged racism that's happened at the SCG. Now, we've spoken about this. We've spoken about the Black Lives Matter movement for a period of time here, basically since the UK summer. Now,
and we've been called BLM wankers.
Yeah,
tossers.
BLM tossers, I think.
BLM wankers, here they are. Here we go, winding up.
Yeah, fuck me, here we go. Just play the cricket. Now, Pez, like I have anxiety talking about this, mate, to be honest, because all I've ever wanted to do, including this show, is just make people laugh. That's all I want to do. I'm not a social expert. I'm not a racism expert, social justice issues. I'm none of those things. I'm just a fucking idiot with an internet account. I just want to make people laugh. That's all I want to do. I have anxiety about speaking about this issue because I don't know, man. I don't know what's happened. I don't think anyone
not clear.
Anyone on the internet knows what's happened, and that's part of the problem because I've been sort of following this, as many people seem to have been doing so, on Twitter, which is the single worst place that you can have any sort of discourse about anything. And I think the issue is about this specific incident. I'm talking about what happened on day 4 with the 6 guys who got kicked out of the SCG, where Siraj stopped the game and he said, these guys are abusing me or racially abusing me. And then these guys are now like sort of the face of racism in the world, essentially. And like everything I've seen around this, including reports that the guys from the SMH, Tom Decent, who's a very good journalist, he interviewed people at the time, and there was people saying like they didn't say anything racist. The BCCI have said that the allegation is that people were yelling out "brown dog,"
and the day before,
and the day before. I think that was
well.
the 2 days before as well. It's all part of it. I don't fucking know. I'm just a guy trying to watch the cricket. I'm looking like people's reactions in the crowd, and no one's like that whole thing about before that people got kicked out. It seemed all very confusing. No one was pointing the finger at them. The game is stopped. There's this great and very well spoken about history of great being expansive history of institutional racism in Australia. That is very unspoken about. Still, it seems it's underlying, and we don't even know how racist we are yet.
And we still police what racism is, although those who claim to experience it are telling us they feel like it is.
They feel like it is.
Yeah, it's like, no, we'll be the arbiters of whether it is or not.
Exactly. So when I talk about, now I'm talking about from my own instance now. So when I'm talking about having being a white guy talking to my white friend on a podcast about what racism is, I have anxiety about it because I don't fucking know. I will never know probably what it is like to be vindicated or vilified or made to feel small, as Ravi Ashwin said in the press conference after day 5, for the color of my skin, my ethnicity, my creed, my religion, whatever. You know, I won't know what that feels like, and I will never know what that feels like, probably. So I'm sort of reticent to understand fully what's going on, because at the moment, as we're recording this, there have been no charges laid by the SCG. There's all this fucking weird footage of like people saying like, oh no, if you listen between 7 and 8 seconds on this video for 19 seconds, you can hear someone yelling out brown dog. I must have watched that video 50 times. Can't hear shit. Anyone who says they can hear something is you cannot hear that. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen, because it's 19 seconds and they were there for fucking 4 hours. So mate, I'm not saying like, oh, I don't believe it didn't happen. I just don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to say here. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I think two things can be true at the same time. Australia has an incredible history of sort of underlying racism and overt racism as well. But I don't know if what those guys said that day was racist. I think both of those things can be true. But if I feel like if I say like, I don't know if what they said was racist, I feel like if I say that, then people are like, oh, defending racists, are you? Nah, I'm not. I'm just saying I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to be careful, because it can appear. Perception is everything, because while there's still stuff going on about what was said or wasn't said or whatnot, and it's important that, you know, racism is a high bar to clear, because it's necessarily so, because it's such a heinous thing to do. You want to get that right. But the mere act of seeking clarity about it can appear readying a defense for racists as well. All this goes to show is that there's many media platforms out there that are not appropriate to discuss these things, because 280 characters is enough. It's complex, it's grey. We're now having a bigger conversation around, I suppose, a spectrum of racism, our ability to reflect on ourselves, and boorishness. It is a little bit of a spectrum, I think. They are slightly different, but I do think the conversation has evolved a little bit. So it seems to me that there's a broader conversation going on about the way we behave, the way Aussies behave to visiting teams, and that too is going to be a very important conversation to have, you know, and to reflect upon. And you know, I look at the risk of spending too much time kind of defending these guys or whatever. When things like this happen, you know, I think that a sensible thing to do is to start to interrogate what are the systemic issues that contribute to that. Now, like, you know, I have anxiety saying the following as well. Like, I have some level of sympathy for the young guys who were kicked out, in the sense that I could see why they would be confused about the messages they receive around things, issues of verbal jousting, you know, which is like so institutionalized in the way Australians enjoy their sport. So you turn up to the ground, they're probably sitting rows away from literally a bronzed statue of Yabba calling something out. They've also got their captain in trouble at the moment for calling Ravi Ashwin a dickhead, among other things, you know, that may or may not have been said. Kerry O'Keefe made the point the other day that his number one question after playing 24 test matches is, what's the best sledge you've heard? You know, verbal jousting, whatever you want to call it, is part of our culture. They sit at the ground, they're being served alcohol as well all day. Mate, I've been 19 and 20 out at the cricket carrying on like a dickhead, and I feel... I cringe, like, looking back on it. So when I have sympathy for these guys, in the sense that they were presented at that time as the face of potential racism, when really our issue is much broader and deeper than that. A symptom, you know, of something much deeper, and a conversation that's always important to have, I think. Don't have a lot of time for the whataboutery about it. You know, a lot of people will point out, well, things like this happen in the UK and happen, and they do, but this is our country, you know, and we're going to deal with our things. So just because others do it doesn't mean that we don't have things that we need to sort out about it as well. You know, I actually think the entire episode is quite connected when you bring in things like the things that Payne was saying. Andrew Simon's hot mic comments about Marnus Labuschagne, they're all of the same theme. It's all about the way we one-up, the way we verbally joust people, the way that sits on the line between abuse and banter, as Justin Langer said. It's all really cause for self-reflection. If you've got shit chat, just don't talk that much.
Yeah, it is. Now, I the racism thing, I don't, as I said, I don't know about. But like the abuse element, I'm exactly the same as you, Matt. I can think of instances in my life where I've either seen it or been the guy myself. Now, I've never yelled at anything racist. I will say that. Now, here's another part of my anxiety. I don't want to be sitting here on, the podcast and be like, oh, I'm fucking holier thou. Let me preach from my high horse position, because I've made so many mistakes in my life on a cricket field. Outside of that, I'm no one to be saying like, well, this is how you should live your life, because I'm a fucking idiot. But like, I remember one of the first times I ever went to the SCG. People listening for the first time, Pez and I are both from Sydney. So like all my cricket experiences, apart from recently, have been watching cricket at the SCG. One of the first times I ever went with my dad, and Devon Malcolm was filling down the boundary. And there was a guy behind me, big fat guy, and he was yelling out to Devon Malcolm, fucking move your big fridge or your big washing machine, or a combination of those two things, that kind of abuse, stuff like that. I remember sitting in the SCG members maybe 15-ish years ago. VVS Laxman was fielding. A guy yelled out, I've said this before, I'll tell you this story before, someone yelled out, Laxman looks like he just sucked off a horse. That kind of shit. I remember when I was maybe, first time I ever went to the SCG by myself, I was maybe 15, something like that. It was a one-day international, and Michael Bevan was fielding on the boundary, and I was with my mate, and we were doing the Bevan, give us a wave, Bevan, give us, and I think about it now, it's like, mate, you're a fucking dickhead, just shut up, because I'm now ruining the experience for everyone around me. Another time I was at the SCG, Australia, New Zealand ODI, when was that? I think it would have been about 18, 19 maybe. So yeah, 2 years ago. And I was like just hammered at like 2:30 in the afternoon, bought like a bottle of rum into the ground. Yeah. Drinking in the day sun, then like starting walking down. I was then it was the top section of the Doug Walter stand. It's a different setup now. They knocked it all down. But back then I was trying to start like Mexican waves. People were like sitting with their partners and shit. I was like, oh, let's start a Mexican wave. 10, 9. It's like, you're a fucking twat, mate. Just fucking sit there and watch the cricket, you dickhead. So what I'm saying is like, I've been in a position where like I've been the idiot at the ground who's like yelling out things. I'd say I've never abused someone, but like I've been the guy who's fucking annoyed the experience for other people around, just being young and idiot, alcohol, these sort of things. And it's just now I think about it now and being like, mate, that's really stupid. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to even talk about it now.
I suppose the question is why? Like why, not just you, but like why are we like that? Like, what is it about the conditions of our country or sport that sets up that relationship where, sledging others is part of the enjoyment of it, even felt like a little bit of a rite or part of the ritual of the day. That's where you start to look at leadership, you start to look at example. When you're young, you just follow what you see to be right and enjoyable. I was the same. I couldn't wait till I was like 18 to get out into the outer and drink a few beers and carry on because when you're with your mates, you think you're hilarious. Everyone thinks it's hilarious, especially when you've got a few beers in you and you carry on.
Well, it's interesting, mate, isn't it? Because that's sort of like a bit more than 10 years ago now, and it's like I would never do that now.
Yeah.
And it's almost like when I got to that age, when I got to like 18, 19, first time out of the house kind of gear, could buy alcohol at a bar at the ground, I was lionizing the things that I'd seen from when I was a kid, when people could drink full strength alcohol on the hill and yabba and all that kind of gear, stacking up beer snakes, all that sort of thing. And that to be fair, lots of that can still be fun as long as no one's getting hurt kind of thing, But it's It is really strange that in Australia that's part of the consumption of sport. That's what it appears to be. And like you look at the videos and people yelling out Siraj, give us a wave and stuff. No, I'm just saying like I've literally done the same thing, not to an opposing player or anything like that, but it's like oh my God, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? And you kind of hope as well that those guys who got kicked out of the ground, they must be in fucking pieces now.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what they said, but...
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? Like, I don't want to dedicate too much time to the did they, didn't they around something racist said, though that is important. Yeah. But there's a bigger it's moved into a bigger discussion now, but what we're left with is images, it's just so embarrassing, again, whether or not it's happened or fair or not, and hopefully that's all, happens in a really just way, if that's even possible now, with their faces being on TV and stuff like that, but like, you're left with the images, you're left with the still images, you're left with people overseas looking at it and going, oh, the Aussies are up to it again.
Back at it,
you can't talk about these things as isolated incidents because our country has form around this kind of stuff. Right. And so someone might say, listen, we can't actually isolate if they or there was other racist things said. But there's a lot of people around the country who'll be like, well, it does happen in Australia. You know, you don't have to look at what happened with Adam Goods. And that just kept going on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
You know, we have form, we have priors on this kind of stuff. So that actually impacts the way people perceive it. I happen to think that it's broadly connected to the same theme as the way the Aussies have been carrying on. I mean, they've done great work in the last couple of years to clean up their image. Even if it's been keeping a lid on things, they've stopped carrying on like cunts since Lehman left, basically. And I think Tim Payne has done a very good job at keeping a lid on those things. Now, some people, particularly overseas, suspected that there was still a little bit of that in them. We did as well, but it's still good that they had kept a lid on it. But they let themselves down. You know, and the lid came off a little bit yesterday when they were under pressure. They cracked. It was actually soft. They're trying to look tough, but it was soft. Payne's apologised since, and I think essentially said the same thing. Toughness was India yesterday. No words, just actions. They're all in hospital. They're all injured. They've been bumped. You know, Australia's bumped the shit out of them, and they've secured a historic draw going into the Gabba. You know, on the flip side, 60 balls to go in the game, and Tim Payne's calling Ravi Ashwin a dickhead and saying we can't wait to get you at the Gabba. So I mean, there's 60 balls left in this game. Just get him out. You know, shut up and get him out. Now, I'm sure Payne will improve from that. He's 35 years old, but he's also still a young person. He will improve. He will learn. But yeah, it's funny how it's a part of our culture a little bit. It's like when it gets a little bit tough, people under pressure, we go the verbal route. Steve Smith's thing, we don't know what the fuck's happened there. Some people are like, well, is he trying to scratch up pants crease, or is he just doing his kind of semi-OCD thing or whatever? Why be in that conversation anyway? Why is he even doing that? You know what? It's and the reason why. Sorry, just to finish. The reason why people ask that question is not in and of itself the isolated incident, but because there are priors. It's like, there's form when it comes to this kind of stuff. So even if you weren't doing anything wrong, people will wonder if you were because of other stuff. So they it actually disappointed me. You know, I was like, you're kind of undoing your good work here, boys.
Yeah. I found it really interesting because all of it was fucking so great cricket from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. And I was like, when I saw the Smith thing, they're scratching up the crease, and people were just being like, I cannot. What he's doing what? Can't. I was like, shut the fuck up.
One of the great genres for fucking Poms and Kiwis. You know, it's like, mate, Aussies behave.
He's at it again. No.
Aussies behaving badly would be one of the best fucking TV shows in the UK, like Geordie Shore. Just like hate watching, same with those fat shaming shows and stuff. If you just did a whole doco on Aussies behaving badly, that'd rate the fucking shit out of TV in the UK. Yeah. It's one of the great genres of all time.
Yeah, it's like Embarrassing Bodies, but just seeing Aussies overseas.
Because it just hits all the dark recesses of like the bad, all of our dark angels. The Aussies, convicts. Uncivilized people, unlike us. We're great. We know how to play with decorum, do you? But we got our own problems. We'll worry about our own backyard.
I just saw that, and I was just the fucking the reaction to it. But you're entirely right. It's just like, no, but it's in the it's prefaced by everything that's happened before. And the conversations around like, has he learned his lesson, all this kind of shit. Lots of people have been saying today on Twitter that, again, the wonderful forum.
There's a good forum for it.
Really good forum for it.
Because you just got to summarize. You just got to get it sorted out. You got to summarize it.
A few words together and just be clean and perfect.
Yeah, clean and perfect. Get all the nuances.
And just people saying like, well, he does this like between every break and stuff. Probably does. He's weird enough.
Probably.
The guy was shadow banning in full whites before a dressing room. He probably was doing that. Yeah. Probably, But it's all just wrapped up in the thing of like the sledging, and then like Ashwin hit Wade at bat pad, and Wade's fucking charging at him. Yeah. They're sledging Marnus in a little bit of an aggressive way in relation to the Simons and Warren comments. Payne's having a chat, drop catches. It's just all a bit angsty and stuff, mate. But I also wonder, mate. I don't want to give him the out, but I will by saying this now. That I just wonder the impact of the bubble life and all this sort of thing, and the intensity, and this is actually the point. This is actually the point of all of this thing. I think this is a fantastic series. The cricket, the quality of the cricket, the quality of the wickets. Well, the SCG didn't really turn.
If that was the MCG, there'd be a few people piping up.
There'd be riots. Yeah, we'd be storming Jollymont in a coup attempt. And the pressure to win this series, and it's India, and we don't like it how India owns cricket, and we don't like that because it's our game or whatever. It's fucking some territorial shit. I don't know. And I just want to like the impact of all this kind of thing. They're stressed out, mate. I was fucking in my apartment in a fucking box for 5 months, and if I was playing international cricket at the same time as I was when I was shadow banning, it got a bit weird towards the end, if I'm honest.
Yeah. You didn't get picked in twos.
I didn't. I kept getting beaten.
You might have been
by the
army with that cover drive.
Invisible arm in my apartment. You know, like it must be high stress, but they're just sort of flipped out. But the point is that like it's all grade cricket, and all these guys that are playing this Australian cricket team have all still come through grade cricket. And when you're stressed out, you revert to type. And I recognise so many of those things playing grade cricket. What was happening at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? It was like India had already passed our score and they were just batting on.
Yeah.
Just a bit of frustration.
Yeah.
I've seen it before where like, you know, guys start doing things like I've played in games where guys have literally marked up my centre piece as well, like with the marking of centre. They've scuffed that up. They walk past you a little bit too closely when the batsman...
They stand where you'd be standing.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the captain will then change the field and he'll stand like literally on top of your toes, like just going, no, square up. You know, just all these little sorts of things that are fucking annoying. And that's what Australia did. They just reverted to type and it got a little bit angsty, a little bit more pressure. It's funny actually, if you look at it like that, but...
Yeah, and you revert to type, and that's sort of how you're conditioned as well. Yeah, I don't know. I think when they start carrying on like that, someone as experienced as Ashwin would be like, oh, we've got him here. You know, if this is the sort of stuff you have to do, then clearly whatever you're doing with the ball is not working, or in the field or whatever. And then, you know, dropping the catch after your sledge, well, that's the worst, you know, sort of bang bang, if you will. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.